Now that we've finished The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, we look ahead to the upcoming Amazon TV series, The Wheel of Time. Season 1 is 8 episodes. It debuts in November, and we're going to have a look at what we know and compare it back to what we just read. Don't go away, because we're doing that next. Hello and welcome to the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Chip.
My name is Brian.
As you heard from the intro, we are discussing the upcoming Amazon Prime TV series based on the Wheel of Time saga. So we'll be talking about what we know so far and how that relates back to the many, many pages we just read.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. So, the series itself comes out in November.
Yep.
It has 8
I thought you said 8
episodes. And I think they've released the titles of the first 6. So, might be able to, find those, and then we can kind of maybe walk through what those mean. And then we've got some Vanity Fair pictures that just dropped this week, as well as some other images of the heron-mark blade, Matt's ruby dagger. So those are the kind of things we're going to be jumping into. Are you looking for the episodes?
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, you found it. That's the article I was in.
So episode 1 is Leave Taking.
I think we can probably guess what that does.
Episode 2 is Shadows Waiting.
Oh.
Episode 3 is A Place of Safety.
Okay.
Episode 4 is The Dragon Reborn, which seems awfully early.
Yeah, it does. Although,
But maybe it's Lorraine.
Okay.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 5, Blood Calls Blood. I think that was a chapter title, not possibly, but maybe not. Episode 6 is The Flame of Torvalen, which is funny since we never reached Torvalen in the book.
oh, might be reaching spoilery territory.
And that's all they have so far. So,
What was it? Blood?
I keep wanting to say blood.
Blood Calls Blood.
Maybe
it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't see
okay.
that.
It sounds like it could have been.
So
It does.
the first one, Leave Taking, my guess is right off the bat we're going to see the Trolloc invasion of the Two Rivers, and that episode may culminate in them having to leave. If they're only doing if they're only doing 8 episodes, and we're supposedly, and this is an assumption, covering the first season, things are going to move fast. Yes, that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even had much of this yet.
I know.
Maybe I need more.
Probably.
Have they dropped anything about how long any of the episodes are? It'd be one
Not
thing
that
if
I've
they were.
seen,
no.
But yeah, they're going to have to cover a lot of ground quickly. And unfortunately, and maybe we discuss this off air, I mean, at some point we'll have to talk about books that were turned into series or movies, but I'm going to have to put on my, I don't know, what would you call it? My, not disbelief, but my ability to watch something in a condensed form, because I'm so used to it now that I've read it in book form or even audiobook form.
Well, and we know they're going to have to condense things, and I think I've already read that because they've got so many characters to introduce, that where we meet Tom in the book isn't where it's going to happen in the show. So they will introduce him sometime later after they leave the Two Rivers, which makes sense because, I mean, they have at least 5 main characters to introduce right off the bat.
5 plus Lan and Moraine.
Yeah. 9A, Egwene, Matt, Rand, Perrin, Maureen, and Lan. So yeah, that's 7 that will probably at least meet in the first episode, I would think.
Yeah, so Leave Taking, that's probably our guess there. What was the second episode called?
Episode 2
Yeah.
is Shadows Waiting.
Shadows Waiting. So, Shadar Logoth?
That was my first
That
guess
seems
too.
like we'd get there fast, but in the book, it's probably, halfway through the book?
It is.
But then what really happens, because they go to Barillon, then,
right.
there's a couple other things, and then
right.
they all leave, But Shadar Logoth is where they separate, so maybe that's...
I mean, and we're not going to get beat by beat all the
No.
locations, all of
Right.
the action. So we're not.
I wouldn't
gonna
be surprised if they
necessarily-
don't even show Barrelon in the
Right.
in the series.
Yeah.
Although-
It's just there's
I almost wondered if Barrelon was a place of rest.
well, a place of safety
Or
is
place
the-
of safety.
Place
Episode
of
3.
Safety.
Place of safety. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Is that maybe Rand and Matt getting to the Queen's blessing?
Oh, that could be. That could, well, I mean, that's about the safest place after all of those.
Because I
Difficult
mean, that's
encounters
if that's
along the
the
way.
end of episode 3, that's almost the halfway point of the season.
Right.
Yeah, and if episode 4, The Dragon Reborn,
I'm
touches on Logain at all, or the idea that he thinks he's the or proclaims himself that he is.
that the Queen's blessing is right around the same time Rand goes and
Mhm.
catches a glimpse of him.
Yep.
So we might even meet Elaine and
I don't know, because I wonder if we get some mention of Elaine, but I don't know. I wonder if we don't meet her till a later season because she doesn't really play a part other than to be introduced in this book.
Sure, that makes sense.
I don't know. That's kind of fun to think about. Blood Calls Blood is episode 5.
Does that maybe have something to do with Moraine healing Matt from the effects of the dagger?
I don't know. The note in here says Blood Calls Blood references an extensive dark prophecy that reveals quite a few of the villains and events to come in the series. This is the first time. This occurs at the same time we officially encounter the Aes Sedai as an organization, including Varen, and that would be wasn't she with Logain? No, Varen wasn't. Varen's a Brown, right?
Yeah, she's a Brown. You don't meet her till later.
No. So
Interesting.
Interesting.
I almost wonder if that's something that they want to put in order to prepare for
To
additional
plant seeds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And then episode 6 is the Flame of Torvalen.
Yeah,
Which we never actually made it to Torvalen by
Right.
the end of the book.
No.
So
unless it's symbolic.
Well, and the Flame
Oh,
of
that could
Torvalen
be.
is the symbol that they wear.
Right.
Or I
Well,
don't know.
it's the one half of the yin yang
mm-hmm.
power symbol. So
Yeah, there's the dragon
Yeah.
thing, right?
yeah. And
So-
what's the last one? Or
That was
the
it.
last?
We
Okay.
just have 6
Yeah.
Okay.
that have been
Well,
divulged so far.
so, and then on top of that, then we've got the Vanity Fair article that came out that kind of talks about the series, and it's
And we get some of our first images.
We do.
There's
So-
been a few teasers before this, but this is
Right.
the first images of many of the characters other than Moraine. I think.
Speaking of the characters, why don't we take a look?
Oh, nice.
So, assumption left to right. What do you think?
Well, the braid has got to be Nynaeve.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Matt kind of looks like the guy from the IT crowd.
Oh,
Yeah, Chris O'Dowd.
Roy.
Yeah.
Roy.
Roy, thank you. Obviously,
Lan looks
Lan.
intense.
Yep.
Moraine,
Yep.
Very blue.
Egwene,
Yes.
Perrin,
Perrin.
and now
And I never saw Perrin as taller than Rand, which
no,
yeah,
like short and stocky, right?
Stockier,
almost
but
like Wolverine.
a big dude, but yeah, strong and
Yeah.
thick.
I mean, he does look strong.
Yeah, he looks more like almost like an Andre the Giant or pro
A little
wrestler
bit,
type.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of discussion and conversation online. People are, critiquing, oh, well, Moraine's supposed to be super tiny,
Mhm.
and, Rand is supposed to be the spitting image of an Aiel man and is supposed to be taller than everybody else, and
He looks pretty tall, but
he does, but those aren't the kind of things that I'm going to
Mhm.
get hung up on.
no. Nynaeve supposed to be tiny, and she looks tiny, and
Yeah.
I also feel like, if you look at the hill, it almost feels like Moraine is at the top of the hill and other people maybe
Yeah, it could be,
a
too.
little lower than her.
Mm-hmm.
and she might be kind of in front of everybody else a little bit. Maybe
That-
Lan's
yeah.
slightly ahead of her. But
Actually, that would make sense if she really was kind of the driver in all of book 1.
Oh, yeah.
She was.
So it makes sense.
and I
for her
think
to be-
she's, from what I've read, she's kind of the focal point of the first season, more so
Mhm.
than Rand and
Mhm.
the others. It's really kind
Well,
of her
she's
story.
it's kind of that tie that binds everything
yeah, she's
all together,
the
right?
she's kind of the hub.
What do you think of the costuming?
Well, I know I read somewhere that this was, that Jordan, even when he wrote it, his idea was more of like a like 16th century England, like post, like maybe Renaissance era, maybe just pre, but it isn't supposed to be like a medieval look. It's supposed to be more refined and more.
And you get that, I think, in the later books when you start to get into, like we said earlier, the game of houses, and you get into like all the.
But
noble...
even in this one, towards the end, and I can't remember if it's the end of this one or when we go into the Great Hunt, but some of the clothing that they start to wear and that Moraine gives to Rand, it's all this fine tailored stuff, and it's highly embroidered, and there's all sorts of embellishments on it, and Rand has a hard time wearing it, but he does. But it's much more ornate than you think of as like a from like Lord of the Rings. It's a lot more cloaks and leathers and But Rand does look like he has a sheepskin coat on.
Yeah.
So
I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, you talk about Moraine is supposed to come from money, and we talk about how wealthy her and Lan are when they travel into town, and we think about Nynaeve as the wisdom. She probably holds a place of prominence in the Two Rivers, so it makes sense that she is maybe a little nicer dressed than the rest of them. So,
wish you could zoom in on Moraine's ring and see what.
Sure,
yeah. Dragon,
I didn't even try to do that.
Or the snake eating this.
Another thing to consider is, with Nynaeve not potentially being dressed like the others because she left on her own. She wasn't in a hurry. She had time to kind of gather things and set out after them.
Yeah.
So that might account for some of that. Matt looks like...
He looks like he just
he
woke
looks
up
a
out of
little
the
rough,
gutter.
But if you think about it, right, you're setting out on the countryside. You didn't have a lot of time to prep. You probably didn't pack a razor. You're not going to shave. So
and we don't know if
sense.
this is pre-Shadar Logoth or after
Right.
they reunite.
So does he have the dagger?
Is he, fallen under the curse of the dagger? And
true.
And I look at the way that they're standing. So Egwene looks like she's just kind of almost posing or hamming it up for the camera, where the others are very intense. She's, but in the book she's kind of like along looking for this fun adventure, and doesn't seem to be as not serious, but I don't know what I'm trying to say, but she's trying to have fun with things and enjoy this adventure. And
should we see what the next picture is?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
Ooh.
All right. So we have our first look at Logain Ablar, the self-proclaimed Dragon Reborn, which might be what that episode title ties back into. And we've got, obviously, he's caged with the Aes Sedai. Now, this is not what I pictured when we got that scene of Logain. Like, he was in the cage. Yes, he was.
But I thought it was more in the middle of Camelin. Right. This looks like it's almost wilderness or outside of town.
But he doesn't look like a proud, defiant king here. He looks...
Yeah, because in that scene in the book, he's staring everybody down. And
like he's still, like, standing up tall. He's not hunched over, and Jordan makes a point to say that. So...
And I'm curious, too, because I thought it was the red Ajah that kind of had him caged here, but I don't see any red in this image, so I don't know if that is...
We never
was
actually,
it Alana? I can't remember if it was...
So we never actually hear any colors.
Green, but I don't know.
They didn't actually talk about any colors.
Didn't they
first,
hear?
No.
I thought they did in that scene.
They talked briefly about red existing, but they never actually said who was watching over Logain. So
you're projecting, Chip.
Maybe I am.
I'm fine with that. Although the way I saw this was the cage was maybe a little bit bigger, and I saw more than, in my mind's eye, I saw more than two Aes Sedai watching like a whole team or a squadron.
Like there were some on the wagon, and then it was surrounded by warders, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we don't obviously have a wide enough shot to see that.
Yeah, good point.
So we don't know what the rest of the procession looks like.
The cage itself kind of reminds me something out of Mordor, if we're thinking like Lord of the Rings, that it's kind of got that Minas Morgul or some sort of a look from the Ringwraiths, or I don't know. It's kind of got those type of lines.
All right. Coming up next, this is a shot of Shadar Logoth. I'm not sure why Lan is holding Moraine. Maybe she was weakened after... When they came into Shadar Logoth, was she weak from having to divert the Trollocs?
Yeah, because isn't that when she used all the fire to kind of separate them and help them distance themselves from them?
So this might be right when they get in there, because the horses aren't even in the building yet.
Yeah.
So he's probably like carrying her inside or something.
That makes sense.
I like the look.
That's a
I
cool
do.
background.
Yeah. It's really cool looking. Kind of captures that eerie, creepy, formerly
Like a
majestic.
formerly great city.
Yeah.
Very shadowy.
I like that very much.
Mhm.
I've heard a lot of people complain that after seeing these pictures, it reminded them of like Legend of the Seeker,
Oh,
as
okay.
far as just like, looking kind of cheesy, kind of like that Hercules: The Legendary Journeys and Xena feel.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I get that
I don't
from
get
these
that
pictures.
from this.
And I don't think
No.
you can really extrapolate a whole lot from this. I mean, we're seeing stills. I'm
Right,
sure.
right.
I'm excited. I still think it looks.
Yeah, this
Pretty-
looks
pretty cool.
really cool. And then we have a close up of Rand and Egwene. And this actually zooms in and shows us more of the costumes.
Oh,
which
yeah,
I
this
like.
was a good high res.
So like
shot,
I keep looking at like Rand's boots. And
Yeah.
it's like they've got like these rivets in them, and one thing I noticed for traveling cross country, they're awfully clean. Not
Mhm.
a lot of dirt, not scuffed up.
Right.
So is this shortly after they leave? Is this maybe before they even leave? Maybe they're still in the Two Rivers and they're just
Oh.
having some alone time.
It's cool.
Maybe
That's
he's
a good
trying
point.
to get his Mac on.
Well, he's probably hoping or wishing Perrin was
Well-
there because Perrin's much better at talking to girls.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I almost wonder if this is like in his mind. This is how he sees his conversation with her going. Like
Yeah.
we don't even know if this is a real thing happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next couple of images were some teaser material that dealt with some of the weapons. So the heron-mark blade, Matt's ruby dagger, and so I wanted to kind of show those off. So here's the sword.
That's cool.
Now, the book does specify that it is a slightly curved blade, only sharpened on one side, which they did. But this looks, I mean, it looks very katana,
Japanese.
right?
Yeah.
So let's go back and look at this though. I mean, if we look at Lan's dress, it also looks very
It's got an Asian flair to it.
yeah. So maybe it.
And
they're-
we know in the later books there's a very Asian influence with some of the other cultures that we
Mhm.
see, so
Yeah.
it makes sense that
So-
they would. I don't see Perrin's axe in that picture.
No, I don't. But seeing this is, I'm disappointed upon first viewing of the sword. I'm not saying I hate it. I'm not saying this is terrible. It's ruined the series. I'm just saying, because this is a shot of the heron-mark blade that was actually an officially licensed prop under Robert Jordan's purview, right?
Mhm.
And so this is what I've envisioned for well over a decade as the heron-mark blade. And so to see something else is, I mean, understanding, because you want to put your own spin on things.
Mhm.
Maybe they didn't have the
So-
rights, I think, what you said. So
could be.
Yeah, one thing I'm curious about, and it may just be something that they'll address. I don't see the scabbard in the other picture, but
Mhm.
but they always talk about how people would notice the heron-mark blade,
because
that he was
it's
wearing.
on like either the scabbard or the
Yeah,
handle. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they'll see it. I mean, it must be on the scabbard or something, because I
Right.
know that he's trying to cover it and hide, what it
Right.
is from certain people that they were in encounters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And then the last piece, and this is a little dark, so I apologize,
Mhm.
but we do have the ruby dagger. Now, did it specify the ruby was in the hilt or the pommel?
I thought it was the hilt.
I think you're right.
Ruby hilted
Mhm.
dagger.
But for some
I
reason,
always pictured it as the
envisioned
pommel,
it in
like,
the pommel.
And I, for some reason, I always
So-
picture like an ivory handle with the ruby in the base of the pommel.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
some reason, but
That being said, I don't hate this.
no.
No.
I mean, it looks pretty cool,
Yeah, it looks
So-
like something Matt would take.
right?
It makes sense. It looks nice.
Yeah.
So that's not right.
Yeah.
There we go. So as we kind of said, this comes out in November. It is 8 episodes. They've already greenlit season 2.
Yep. They're already
Fantastic.
writing, so
Yeah, and so we at least have 2 seasons of this to look forward to. Obviously, it's going to take probably a miracle to clear all 14 of those books, but
I thought that the showrunner said that he's plotted out 8 seasons to cover most of the books.
honestly, I could see that because there's a lot between 6 and 11 that you can condense, and we talked.
There's a lot of chapters in there that just go on and on.
I mean,
and on.
we even talked about one like Berlin, not essential to the story.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So, one question I do have is: are we going to get to see Loyal this season?
I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, they
yes.
cast him.
We almost have to, right?
They
Because he's kinda
cast him.
instrumental. Oh, did they?
Yep.
Okay.
So I think he's got to be in it
All right.
because how else are they going to use the ways and get to
Yes.
where they need to go?
Oh, and
Point.
that's something I didn't even consider when we were looking at the episode titles.
Mhm.
Where did the ways fit into this?
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're gonna be.
Or is
towards
that
8.
maybe
And that might be one of the
episode
last
7
two.
and then
Yeah.
8 is the confrontation at the
At the
eye.
eye, maybe.
And here's the thing with the streaming TV series, they're not confined to that hour time slot.
Nope.
They
Right.
can go longer if they need to.
Well, I mean, Game of Thrones the last season did that too, where
Yeah.
they had 90-minute episodes.
Yeah. And like
So maybe
cinematically, say what you will about how it was executed, but cinematically
story-wise it
it
kind of
worked.
blew, but the visuals were great.
and the format worked.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, that is our take. We do invite you to click the like button below, hit that subscribe button, and then there's a bell notification that you can click on so that when we post new content on Thursdays, generally, if we're on top of things, you will get notified. Please let us know in the comments what you thought about the images, what you think about the episode titles. If you have any other thoughts, theories, ideas, we would love to hear them, and we would love to have that discussion down there. As always, we appreciate you, and we will see you next time.
Alonzi.